Kula, Maui last, Monday, not too long ago, from helping out my parents in the Kula community there. So I spent about 4 days on Maui, um, place I was born and raised. Grew up in Kula, spent my whole childhood there. Had lots of ties to spending time in Lahaina, as well as great fond memories of doing Front Street Mile, as well as Maui Marathon, spending nights there in hotels, leaving from Lahaina Harbor. Um, so it's been really devastating seeing what's happened to Maui. And it was a quite emotional trip, seeing the damage and the fire through the country and really what it did to the homes there as well as to the community. Um, it looks like the community is very strong, that there's a lot of support, but right now there's a lot of uncertainty. Probably one of the most, what hit me the hardest is leaving, seeing the airport. I don't think I've ever seen so many cars, so rent-a-cars, just lying around the airport. Literally tens of thousands of cars. And then when I went to the rental place, there had to be next to maybe just a handful of people renting cars. Um, Most of the traffic at the airport was just female workers leaving, and it was also sort of a slap in the face to see that many vehicles, knowing that there's thousands, not 10 thousands of people who need a vehicle, need a place to stay. So, um, talking to some people on this coffee shops and people in the neighborhood, um, they're all aware of that while there was damages in the country, the Lahaina fires and the tragedy and all the mystery as well as the lack of communication, mistrust in government officials, lack of transparency. Um, there's a lot of uncertainty on Maui. The numbers right now for Hawaii are, I think, averaging somewhere around less than 2,000 a day, and that's from a peak of 8 to 7,000. So there's really no money coming in Maui, or very little. Um, my understanding is that Lahaina alone usually brings in about $9 million, so a day. So a lot of people in Hawaii, my parents included, they're now retired, but my dad worked in the hotel industry and started off in Kapalua. Um, so everybody, one way or another, is connected to the tourism industry there. So um, I don't blame tourists for not coming, given the lack of confidence in our county and state officials to manage the situation before, during, and after. Um, it's probably the worst thing for Maui tourism that you could expect. So, sound of the video sucks. Does this sound any better? Anybody who has questions or would like to engage, I'm out in Volcano. The connectivity is not that good here. So something I have to work on. But please, if anybody out there has questions of what it was like, okay, did bear, kind of. Maybe I just need to speak a little louder, and that might be useful, or be close to the camera. But yeah, it was really emotional seeing all the burnt land in Hawaii. Um, a lot of tears, and what are we going to do going forward? Christina and I are thinking about trying to provide more information for property rights. Why are there so many Jews involved? I don't know. Israel is involved in some projects there, but I'm not really sure about any connection there. I watched the news interview. They said there's 388 people missing. The state, the county has the FBI, the numbers. I don't know what to make of it. Is there any knowledge of the missing kids? That is one of the biggest questions. Since I think August 22nd, Maui Police Chief as well as the FBI were saying that there was no kids on the list, but it seems nearly impossible that there aren't 100 at least kids missing. That is a mystery and an uncertainty that is really bothering a lot of locals here. So, I wish I had some answers in any of those issues, but um, I don't. Uh, it's really been a disaster there. And having grown up in Maui, the county there, the levels of corruption, um, mistrust, mismanagement, business kind of runs the show there in tourism, and unfortunately, all the working people of Maui kind of suffer the most. Hi there, Chick East Water. Has the response for help gotten any better? Um, I don't know. There's just a lot of mistrust. I'll try to speak louder so you can hear me better. The mistrust is just palatable. Just lack of transparency, numbers. I think one of the biggest problems is probably the chief of police. I looked into him. He's got besides the Vegas shooting, he's had a toxic work environment as long as he's been on Maui. And let's see, your governor is an Israeli citizen. Mhm. But anyways, I'm back here on the Big Island. My sister is staying in Maui right now. I think my girlfriend Christina will be going. So we'll be going back to Maui. I hope to do a lot more fundraising for them. Um, but yeah, I've done a number of videos, and I've been trying to respond to some of the comments. But reading the comments also breaks my heart. I see a lot of people who just, what's going on in Maui is maybe a symptom of some much larger issues that are going on in the world of socioeconomics, and mistrust of media, mistrust of government. Um, and people say there's missing kids. I don't know. I really wish the mayor, the governor would have daily briefings and provide us much more information. Watching what happened in Canada, I thought Canada did a fairly good job of information for its people. Yeah, you don't trust the Red Cross. That's the word here. Is a lot of people are wary of the Red Cross and where some of that money will go. Um, if there's people that directly, there's people in my parents' neighborhood that we're doing fundraising for, because money in hand is probably the best thing that you can have for any of these people. Um, but really, with tourism coming to a trickle, there is not much money coming, and layoffs are happening. Last count, I believe there was 12,000 on unemployment in the last 3 weeks. Yeah, do weapons are used, blue things don't burn. Yeah, that has become a big question or issue, especially with the lack of information. Hey, Dublin, Ireland, glad to have you here on the chat here. It's one thing that I've realized with this subject. It's awful that Maui is in the local and national news for this. But I do know that there's millions of people out there who have ties, whether it's vacationing, honeymooning, or maybe even just dreaming about Maui or Hawaii. Despite all the mismanagement, it's a beautiful place. It's also taking away from real criminal activities. Yeah, I don't know what's really happening, if it's negligence and a mix of malice, but it is awful. It's important to think long term how to help. Visiting it is important. I think that is crucial. It's a sensitive time, and I think visiting and being aware of what's going on, or helping out, or volunteering and spending more, or tipping more, is going to be one way to recovery. Oh, the issue of property, private property, right? We're looking into right now Fifth Amendment, Fourth Amendment issues with private property, and how we might be able to help some people in Lahaina file for a claim of notice against the state and the government. YouTubers say over 1,000 are missing. Those numbers, it's just very, very difficult. On top of Haleakala, is there an Air Force base? Well, there's not an Air Force base, but there is a number of satellites that are used for different purposes. Um, Here on the Big Island, Mauna Kea, we had an issue with green lasers at some point during that UFO UAP, and they said it was Chinese lasers. I don't really know exactly what they were, but they were documented. Um, yes, the chief of police. Everything is just pointing in the direction that that guy is a snake in the grass. He's probably not a snake in the grass. He's just a snake wandering around and looks like a complete bully and jerk. Why he is still in there, I thought from day one his resignation was just imminent. But somehow he's still in there calling the shots, mismanaging this. Um, yes, Tiffany. Thank you, Tiffany. How many people are dead from the fires? Right now, I think the list is at 388, but it's still uncertain. County Council is having a meeting right now, so I probably will be getting to cover that. Have they brought bulldozers in to clear damaged land? Up in Kula, they have, but as far as Lahaina, I'm not sure how close they are to that. Read about high energy lasers. Yes, I've looked into a little bit about high energy lasers, as well as I'm very familiar with Dr. Greer and UAP issues, as well as Raytheon and what is alleged to be down in what the North Pole with neutrino energy direct weapon systems. So, but I'm not sure I'm going to go there. It does look like the fire that started in Kula was from a down transistor. My dad had some photos of exactly when it happened, the sound. Mixing equals dead, right? It would appear that way, Chris, but for some reason the county is and FBI don't seem to be able to square that quite yet. The blue stuff that did not burn is one of the biggest anomalies. You know, the more you look for it, the more you see it. Maybe there's some other cases where it did burn, but the Tommy Bahama and some of the what Eric found some shirts was pretty confusing. Yeah, crazy theories are not necessary to explain the disaster. Mismanagement could be just the whole cause of it. Cape Town, South Africa. Silence from the local elite. Yeah, well, thanks for all your comment here. Um, I don't do live streams too often, but it's something I've been really taking a lot of information in on what's going on just because it's close to me and it's close to many people that I know on the island. So, maybe part of what I can do is provide information. Yeah, why roadblocks not letting people out? Sinclair, whatever they were doing those first few days, the best way I would say it was just culturally insensitive and practically malicious. It's unfortunate that the community had to step up. The community on Maui, though, is extremely strong. They're the pride, the sense of ohana, aloha. You know, there's unity there that exists everywhere, but it exists in its own unique way in the Hawaiian Islands. Um, so. But does anybody have any other questions, maybe about the Kula fires, um, or the folded blue shirts from Eric's video? Yeah, um, and I'm thinking next time going to Maui of trying to do some collaboration work with some people there. How far is Kula from Lahaina? Good question, Christine. Kula is on the other side of the island, and it probably takes about an hour and a half to go. Yeah, Kathy. You don't know much about the Kula fires, right? I'll give you a short breakdown, John. What happened was first there was a fire in Lahaina, but I believe the night before there in Olinda, which is part of Upcountry, there was a fire that spread. That fire went to 1,000 acres of mostly forest and grassland. Another fire started above my parents' place, and burnt about 20 homes and 200 acres. If you want to, please go check out some of the videos. I have drone footage and documentation of that. While those two fires were going, there was another fire that started above Kihei. Yes, I'm an artist. That's my work. I can show you guys some of my artwork if you're interested. But let me go on about the fire. So the fire above Kihei was going on. So there was actually three fires going on the east side of Maui, and usually using a huge amount of resources. And the fire from Lahaina that had sparked up in the morning from the down power lines, um, that they said was 100% extinguished. I'm not sure if that fire started up again at about 2:46. So at 2:46, when that fire was going, an hour later, my parents were notified and evacuated out of their home in Kula. Um, there was no evacuations in Lahaina. Many parts of upcountry were evacuated. Um, so, and even in Kula, where my parents' house was, there was almost 16 small independent fires that when I left on Monday, they were still smoking. So it's almost 3 weeks later that there was still smoke. Maui is now also in a fire warning at this current time as the winds are picking up. Yeah, down power lines, I'm not sure. Sugarcane, the mismanagement of the land around Lahaina and on Maui is a big problem. It's not just the land, it's also the water. But Lahaina was basically surrounded by nothing but dry grass, just a timber box all around it. So that used to be cane and pineapple land, but now it's just dry land. Oh, the banyan tree. As a kid, I used to crawl up in that banyan tree. Oh, Mark the Shark, aloha. Good to see you on the chat. Um, do I know about the schools where they closed? Yes, the power was out in Lahaina, I believe, since the morning. So many of the kids were sent home. Many people in Maui have multiple jobs. So that's definitely the big concern. The trees did not burn, so the dryland stuff is nonsense. Well, living on Maui, I've seen numerous brush fires across the island. So, and it's nothing new, unfortunately. It's just unfortunate that it took out an entire city. But thanks for all your comments here and engagement. Um, so not still on summer vacation. Please clear that up. I'm not quite sure what you mean there. But if some of you would like to see some of my artwork, I can show you. That's a piece of mine. Let's see. That's a piece of Artist Point. Let's see. Opening day of schools. Yes, that's true. It was the opening day at school. So. But anyways, what's going to happen next for Hawaii and Maui? I don't know. That's most uncertain is housing and the job market. Yes, John, there was a fire in Upper Kula. Let's see, paid government employees, they are by law accountable. There's definitely a possibility of that. I actually did spend a year at law school. Thank you, Mystic Muse. Love your art. And so there definitely seems to be negligence, malfeasance, a whole line of things that I'm actually looking into with some other individuals of how maybe Fifth Amendment or Fourth Amendment might have been violated or currently violated in not allowing people back to their property. Oh, don't let the rich, privileged mainland people take over the region. Having grown up on Maui, I live not too far away from Oprah, has bought up hundreds of acres, basically bought a whole neighborhood. I have one friend, and they're the only family that has not sold to Oprah. And then, Jeff Bezos, I have video footage above Jeff Bezos's house before he bought it, his 60, 70 million estate. And then part of Maui County is Lanai and Molokai. And Lanai is 95% owned by the guy who owns Oracle. So that's basically his island. Um, the big money on Maui is if you want to see Maui's in many ways like a microcosm of the world. There is extreme poverty and extreme wealth. We have billionaires there, but we also have people who just live in their cars and have been doing that well before this pandemic. So, and then there's the issue of mental health. Mental health is been neglected on the island. So is there the resources? Is there the heart and the compassion for the type of support that many of these families are going to need for months, years? I don't know. It's going to be a long road ahead, and there's a lot of despair right now in Maui. Mental health is neglected everywhere. Yeah, and now we're dealing with PTS for like the whole island. In many ways, I've kind of felt it even permeating throughout the internet and the globe. Dirty Head Sea Turtle 31, God bless you. Yes, bless you. Christine, yes. Yeah, great words, great insight by some of you here. And it's interesting to hear, what does the internet have to say about these things? Once again, Maui being on the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. It is amazing. I kept on telling people there, it's amazing that sometimes you hope that tomorrow looks like today, but there really is no guarantee whatsoever. Yeah, Mystic Muse, do not sign anything. Yeah, one of the things that when these fires went on, having a little legal background, I looked into some of the other wildfires, PG&E, and it's unfortunate. Like in most of those settlements, none of the money actually goes to the victims. So, hello, Bella. Hello from the Big Island. Another Maui girl, Maui person. Yeah, we actually moved here before the pandemic in 2019. Sedona, I spent a lot of time in Flagstaff, Arizona. I lived there for a few years training to try to make the Olympic trials and the marathon. I have a great love for the high mountain area of Arizona, and Sedona was gorgeous with all its creeks. So glad to have people from all over the U.S. as well as the world for sure. So, the smart state. I haven't looked too much into that, but that has been an issue that keeps on coming up. And yes, totally domestic. Where are all the children? I wish I had a resource or somebody who, wireless Hellhazies, who could answer that question. Or what's ridiculous is in 2023 with detectives, FBI, and everybody in social media, how we could still not know so many things 3 weeks after. Where are the parents of the children? I think that's something that Eric was saying on his channel is, yeah, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, I do know that there's over 2,000 students who are not going to school according to the DOE. So there's a lot of kids, at least through the DOE, who aren't, yes, that's right. Maybe the DOE, maybe they should be reaching out to these parents. But once again, the mistrust in officials is going to make it hard. I know they're asking for DNA, and many individuals. I think it's less than 100. You don't trust Eric any longer. Interesting. Fair point. I haven't talked to him. I've only watched his content. Um, and I know he's doing a lot of good for some people out there. So 220 students at Sacred Hearts were found safe. Well, that's great news. Yeah, mm, one of the families in Kula who lost a home, she's a teacher up country, and some of the stories of kids coming to school with burn marks on them, it's just so sad. New normal, yeah, yeah, I know. If we want to talk about the education system, I'm on Oahu. Yeah, Jamie, that's a good question. I don't know where the parents are if there are missing children. It's just so unfortunate that there's a lack of trust and transparency on some of these numbers. I do not know anyone personally missing a child. I do know of people who have told me of stories of complete families being burnt alive in vehicles. But those are secondhand accounts. So uh, I, my sister, my older sister knows people who are on that list. Um, and actually, there are some people on that list that I'm sure if I saw their faces, there's one or two that I'm fairly certain were lost to the fire. Bella, yeah, I watched your recent drone footage. It was odd how some houses, with some of the fires in Kula, talking to the neighbors there, one of the things I think saved many homes there was that there were neighbors. One guy had his own water truck, and the fire had started. My parents evacuated about 3:45 in the afternoon, but neighbors stayed till they shut the water down at 11 p.m. And one neighbor stayed till 12, just fighting the fire anywhere they could, and just stopping it from stopping flare-ups. And he basically, our neighbor Mike, had to leave when the smoke was so bad that he just couldn't take it anymore. So he was literally risking his life breathing that smoke to save some of those houses. There's also people who just left sprinklers on in their house, over their house. Um, you're talking about Eric, legit. You know, I haven't met Eric. I've been watching him from I don't know, since he started. Did any of the fires in Kula ignite or reignite? The fires in Kula, they had helicopters fighting them for 2 weeks. And when I left, 3 days ago, there was a small flare up. Right now, there's high wind, so there's a fire warning. That's a good point, Beth. New normal. Why am I not talking about the kids? Um, no, I have no idea. It's much like Stranger Things or Alice in Wonderland. Everything is upside down. So, but yeah, I don't have some answers. That's probably the hardest, most confusing things is just not knowing. Thank you. Poland. Are the teachers in Lahaina still asked to teach? My understanding is that some of them are on paid leave, um, and I think that's the best place. Car rental place is giving cars to people that lost things. Help with a car to use. I hope they do. It was one of the biggest, almost a slap in the face seeing these tens of thousands of cars at the airport and knowing that there's thousands of people who lost their cars. You know, but as the story goes on and we look forward to what we can do, Christine and I think I said before, we're looking out to provide more information for property rights for some of these people in Lahaina who have been locked out or not able to get back to their homes. Do you think cleaning up, sorry I didn't get that, but Eric rocks. Chuck, Thank you so much. That means so much. I really want to get back and do more reporting, and things like that really go pretty far. We live a pretty simple life here in Volcano. We live off the grid. We've lived off the grid for 3 years. We catch all our own water here. We grow a lot of our own food. Um, try to live simple and free. Imminent domain. But you know, one of the reasons we actually moved to the Big Island is because I guess you would call it gentrification. The property, the average home on Maui is about $1 million. So um, I don't have $1 million, or so when the pandemic hit, Christine and I came and looked at the Big Island, where actually land is still available for moderate prices. But it's beautiful here. We live in the middle of the rainforest. Uh, Thank you, Sequoia. Love from Sedona. I've got ties to Arizona. Love that. Love Flagstaff. But not as much as I love Hawaii. Love Maui. For some of you just joining, I was born and raised on Maui. I grew up in upcountry Kula, and I spent. I'm 45. I spent what 30 years of my life. Uh, yeah, I spent 30 years of my life on Maui. Lived in the mainland for 10 years. Came back with my girlfriend Christina when Katrina hit in 2005. Um, they are hiding bodies, disposing of bodies. Bodies could cause death. Um, there's rumors of I doesn't help when the chief of police, who is also in charge of, I guess, the forensics. It's not good at all. But anyways, I have strong ties to Hawaii. My great grandparents came over from Portugal to work in the plantations, um, and their story was one of sort of the American dream, coming in as immigrants with not much. My great grandpa and my grandpa's side had no, it didn't, couldn't write, or but was able to start a family here, and create some wealth. And that's the unfortunate thing in Lahaina, is there's so many people in Lahaina that those are homes with generations in them that passed down from plantation era. It's a main source of asset to a huge amount of working class people, in addition to the commercial businesses along Front Street. But I hope to get back to Maui in the short term and maybe get more stories, um, tell the human story of what's going on. Hey, you've been watching since 2005. Wow, we got an old timer here, Did Bear. Yeah, for many of those people who are just joining me on this channel, um, and want to look at my love for the island. Since I moved back, I have been doing drone, surf, a little bit of everything of Maui. So if you're interested in seeing what Maui looks like, um, I have a ton. I have, I think, 1,200 videos of all the things that I've found beautiful and interesting, the remote places I eat. Have you seen the trailers that hold the bodies? Totally domestic. No, I haven't. I haven't seen any reliable sources. Thank you, Jammers, for just subscribing. Glad to have you here. Um, I'm here because you guys are here. Since 2005. Yeah, I think I started my YouTube in 2008. Um, but yeah, Mike, God bless you too. I love hula dancers. Well, who doesn't? You lived on Bella, lived on 26. Yeah. Oh, Ty Block, glad to have you here. Pennsylvania. Yeah, Jammers, I've actually, I went to law school for a year at Temple in Philadelphia, and then I went to school in Massachusetts at Bentley College, and then transferred to University of Oregon in Eugene. So the 10 years I spent on the mainland, I kind of traveled around the country, but only to find that my heart was, here in Hawaii. No, I haven't totally domestic. But there's a lot of information coming out about this. I've been listening to all the county council meetings. Don't blame the chief or governor. They're small fish. You know, they seem like small fish, but they sure seem like idiots as well. Just Barry. Thank you. So glad to have you guys on board. I guess sort of my role now is to try to keep people informed and energized about what's happening on Maui. And I think I have the heart and the role to do it. And how long have you lived there, Matt? Well, I was born in '78, and I was born right where I filmed some videos in Kula. So I don't know where Oprah put the kids. Ah, Vanessa, yeah, awesome. Some old friends from Seabury. Are there any military bases on Maui? All the major military bases are in Oahu. So, um, I mean, Oahu is the center for the Pacific. So Pearl Harbor is probably one of the largest naval bases that the U.S. has, and then Hickam Air Force Base. My dad served in the military, in the Army. Actually, I'm sorry, he served in the Navy on Oahu and here. Yeah, I've been following Eric West as well, and all things good. Some of the footage that has come out from that fire and some of the people telling their story is just, yeah, same damage as 9/11. The it's whatever the cause of this, the effect is, yeah, without a doubt, the devastation. Oh, you were in a wall of Pearl Harbor. My grandparents actually were right outside of Pearl Harbor, and my grandparents, I'm actually working on a book about my grandparents and their life in early Hawaii. And the part of recounting Pearl Harbor, uh, my grandpa helped pull bodies out of Pearl Harbor. So in many ways, it's fires in Maui seemed almost like a Pearl Harbor 9/11 minute. The government is hiding a lot. You know, I don't. The government is. I've been following the UAP issue, and it's definitely one of those things where the Air Force, it's a case of, yeah, the government has a history of not sharing important things with the public, unfortunately. And maybe the role of the internet is almost a democratization. At least some of us people can fill in those holes where mainstream media and investigative journalism has kind of lost its wings. So I think collectively we're as smart as anybody else. And if we put our minds together and we really try to problem solve, we can find maybe not all the answers, but we can get somewhere collectively. Black Rock, Vanguard plan for that area. I know what's planned for that area. Everybody here is concerned that it's going to be a land grab, whether it's Black Rock or outside developers. Sort of the history that has been happening here since 1847. Yeah, D.V. Sayer, for cultural insensitivity to that area at the very least. Kathy, ah, very interesting. Yeah, there's some people who have ties pre-contact to that area. Great to have you. Aloha. You know, so if you didn't know, Hawaii before the whalers, before Captain Cook, Lahaina was the center and the capital of Hawaii. So rich history. Um, hmm, let's fill the gap. Ah, Kevin, I'd love to go to New Zealand. My understanding is right. That's where James Cameron went to escape the madness of the U.S. Um, 1898, Maui was annexed. Yes, became a territory and state. Interesting enough, some of that annexation almost follows the same thing that went through Kuwait. So kind of a deep brother ignoring me. Ignoring is an answer. Yes, August 21st, 1959. That is statehood here in Hawaii. Um, so Hawaii hasn't been a state for very long. Aloha, Winehouse. But anyways, I'll probably be wrapping up this stream in a little bit to get some lunch. But if there's any other questions or insights, a little more about me, also, coming from Maui, uh, I went to University of Oregon. I studied philosophy and political science. I also went to law school for a while. And since then, I've become an artist, been working on becoming a YouTuber. And what about that 1,200 missing kids? I don't know exactly about that number, but I do know that there's just not true. Do I have any children? No, I have a cat, Ash. We have a furry friend. You want to see a little more of my art? Does anybody else want to see some more of my art? I could show you some of my art. 1 second. This is the house I built. Let's see. This is from Old Maui High. Made with bullets. Let's see. That's a mandala that I made. Let's see. Can we get our cat to say hi? Hey, Ash. Say hi. Here's one of my favorite pieces, Death and Money. Anyways, a little bit about my art. I've done over 500 paintings. Um, thank you, thank you. Thank you, guys. Symbolism, abstract, a little bit of everything. I love cat people. Yeah, you gotta love cat people. Yeah, art has always been a part of healing for me. Yes, I think I will. Crazy Ginger, yeah, there definitely a number of enrolled students that is not accounted for. It would seem like they could actually go out and maybe reach out to the parents, and but I don't know. I don't know. Put on a website for sale, please. Yeah, I excuse me. Uh, we moved and we just moved all our artwork back in, so I will be getting some of my artwork up. Um, for sale. I know a lot of it actually I have myself, uh, but I've been selling artwork over the years. So, yeah, Jamie Lynn. It was shocking that the military didn't play a larger role when things really went bad. I thought Lahaina would just show up. But unfortunately, one of my big heroes, Kai Lenny, he's one of the people that made me really aware of that. It was just a local response, and for some reason, the fact that we have a huge military base just 30-minute flight away with everything, they were not. I know it's pure confusion, really. So it's been pretty much chaos and frustration, and I think the frustration is only mounting. And a lot. Again, I've said it before. The housing crisis was there before this, and now it's just yeah, the Ben Funny with the AR. I had done that piece a while ago. I think that was after one of the mass shootings of how money and violence are tied together. Pray Hawaiian will change their politics. I don't know. Kai is the best. Yeah, Kai Lenny. I've been a big fan of that guy ever since I heard of him. He is not only an amazing waterman, but also a leader and a hero on the island. And makes me proud to say that I'm from the same place that he's from. That we grew up in the same place. Bruce Turnballs. I do know the Turnballs. Um, Tulsi Gabbard was shocked. Tulsi is a very controversial person here. She's taken an interesting path in politics. Not to say that anyone who is in politics hasn't taken an interesting path, but I don't know much trust there is in many of these politics. Yeah, Kai held a paddle. Yeah, and for many of you people who are watching this, if you don't know who Kyle Lenny is, I would take time to look him up and look at maybe some of the things that he does or that he's done in just not in the water, but he's pretty amazing. Yeah, it is a complete rotten situation. Yeah, I hear you guys. I hear you in the chat. Yeah, I the most shocking thing about all this, especially my parents, who there was I think 9 homes in their neighborhood that was lost. There was burn marks on the top of their roof. There was ash everywhere. They just finished cleaning up everything. They still don't have access to water. Um, but knowing that whatever you want to call this tragedy, when it shows up on your back door or so closely to some place that you're so your heart's at, it's one thing to see these things on TV around the world. It's another thing to know that you know it reminds me of how many of you guys are kids of the 80s or what is it, the never ending story. There's that nothing in the never ending story, and the nothing is sort of represented by the wolf. By the end of the movie, the nothing is just eating away at the whole world. And it isn't until the very ending that Atreyu has a little hope, a little diamond from the princess, and the whole world is gone. But some of these things, or whatever is going on, seems a little bit like the nothing. Yeah, Hurricane Dora, no rain, but 60 miles. What, some people don't understand that it wasn't just Hurricane Dora that was the issue. There was also a low pressure system above Hawaii. So that low pressure system in Dora created basically a wind tunnel. And for some of you guys who aren't familiar with Maui, um, Ho'okipa is like the windsurfing capital of the world in part because it's like a wind tunnel almost all the time. So power's still out in Kula. No, there is power on Kula. Little Cricket, I pray for you every day. Thank you, thank you. That means a lot. Um, your voice, your prayers, I'm sure they're felt. So, thank you, thank you. Aloha Classic, I covered that a couple times. I haven't looked into it. I've wanted to get back to Maui to cover some of those events because I just did it for so long. Um, but I'm not sure. It's the Twilight Zone for real. Yes, Janie Lynn. Yeah, you know, we had just gotten out of the pandemic, and tourism was just on the rise for better or worse. And then it's like, especially Maui, the legs just got taken out for any hope for economic prosperity. Beth, that's good. I think all those events, especially some of the sort of any events that they can run with compassion, and they need to have those things on the island. Yes, the police coroner. That is a just. I don't know what to make a sense of it. The fact that John Pelletier is the police and the coroner, I think that they, there's a bunch of statutes to get this guy in. Then they gave him a $50,000 pay increase. I'm working on some information about how toxic the environment was once John Pelletier, the chief of police, came to Maui. It seemed like before this disaster, he was a disaster in the police department and was not addressed. Um, yeah, that's right. He was incident commander in the Vegas shooting. And usually they hire people within the Maui Police Department, but for some reason he was they made an exemption for him, gave him more money than he needed, and then let him have a completely toxic environment at the Maui Police Department. He is hired to cause a disaster. You know, I don't know if that's true, but it sure seems like that. And his background is, there's not much on him. I don't know if anybody got what he said the other day. If you check out Christina's channel, Christina Panetta, my girlfriend, she has a short on. He actually said scrubbing data as an accident, but uh, sometimes these people almost give away too much. So yeah, I don't know if that's just bad luck. It almost seems more than a coincidence, but yes, the cleanup, is a hazmat area. EPA was able to go through Kula, and EPA was able to, remove hazardous waste in the homes there. Um, but it just looks awful. Yeah, he's also the coroner. I think that was an exemption to a statute as well, and probably should be looked in. The level of negligence and things that they did. What did Pelletier say? I'm not sure exactly what that is in reference to, but and if you guys would like, maybe I can do an up or just chat with you guys from time to time, um, and try to give some updates. DNL need full-time fighter. I know they need resources. They need money. You heard him say scrubbing. Yeah, I know. It was real. And once again, Alice in Wonderland, Twilight Land, Twilight Zone. He appears to be a player. Yeah. I said Christina has a video of Pelletier saying scrubbing. It's a video, a YouTube short of him saying scrubbing, I think from a press conference yesterday. Yeah, the dangers of all those people who were in the smoke after the fire, who survived, the long-term effects of breathing in that smoke. It's, I don't think we're still going to see years out the damage that this is causing. Oh, you love the painting in the background. I don't know if you can see it clearly. There was one of Pele there of a hike that I did. Oh, great. You're going to follow the updates. He said scrubbing twice. Yeah. That was unreal, to hear him actually say that. Love Christina. Yeah, she's at work. She'll be back soon. And we hope to do some collaborations together and just get more information, people. And really, our focus is maybe getting information, as I said before, about property rights specifically to those who have been locked out of their property, not able to access their property, and what forms and procedures they might need to do. Okay. But we also want to maybe reach out and get some people on the ground there in Lahaina who can help people fill out the proper forms for a claim of notice, in which they can either recognize to the state or the county that there has been negligence, that they're at least filing a claim, that there's damages involved, that there's probably a case for negligence, without having the sirens, with the police blocking off certain areas of Lahaina as people were escaping. Um, we really want to help those people, Totally domestic, yeah. He did say scrubbing, I wish he wishes he could scrub that, but I don't think that's going to happen. So that's one's in the record book, and for all of us to try to make sense of. Once again, the missing children, I, yeah, you know, yeah, Mystic Muse. I guess I've become a little more of an activist in this process, and feel like I have a role or can be in the fight, can roll up my sleeves. You know, to answer that question, I know they brought in a huge amount of forensics specialists for this. Yeah, good amount now for the numbers of the missing. Um, and yeah, I'm Jamie. I think probably what happened to some of these people is there's just nothing left of them, which is just horrific. Jay Todd, that's just so sad. Yeah, the people who. Uh, well, I hear you. I hear you. So that's awesome. But I'm coming up on an hour here. So maybe in the next 3 minutes, I'll be shutting this stream down. I'll work on the sound quality. I'll work on doing better. But grass fire wouldn't decimate everything. No, I don't think a grass fire would. But boy, once a car catches fire, unfortunately, I've been in a situation where a car did catch fire, and it was just from the transmission sitting on dry grass. But boy, once a car's on fire, it's just a lot of heat. Yeah, Kevin, you worry for my safety. Yeah, the FEMA meeting. It's the guy in charge of the emergency management system wasn't on island. Um, Technovision. Yeah, Jay Todd on along those lines. The reason that I went to Maui was just to let my parents talk and let them decompress and have a space in which we could just talk. And I think um, that was that was my goal there. Is just I gave a lot of hugs to people. There's a lot of tears, and then something that we often forget to do. It doesn't have to be a disaster. Just asking people how are you, is acknowledgement. Whether it's the homeless person or the person you don't recognize. Sometimes just saying how are you and acknowledging someone can make a big difference. So we can all do that. Jamie, I'm on the Big Island. I'm in Volcano, not too far from one of the most active volcanoes in the world. I live about 10 miles away from it. Do I have donation sources right now? I'm donating through the Humane Society and the Maui Food Bank, which I know I've worked with the Maui Food Bank in the past. So on my YouTube, I'm doing donations for them. But we're thinking about trying to start a nonprofit in which we can get donations to help people do the paperwork necessary so they can protect their property or gain access to it or claim negligence or some claims against the county and state. Yeah, aluminum, I had to go watch some videos of some cars burning to make sure I understood what exactly happens when a car burns, and having been in a situation where I've seen a car half burn, Boy, it is just, yeah. Maui Food Bank. They're an awesome source. I can vouch for them. And Maui Humane Society is, heard of Shep Gordon. Yeah, I had some connections to Shep Gordon. One of my friends was his neighbor, and another good friend was Nui was his personal chef for a while. So Shep Gordon, I've actually had some pranks with Shep Gordon. So, but anyways, I'll be signing off, and much aloha, and thank you for your time. God bless.